The Dark is Rising is a series of 5 contemporary fantasy novels for older children and young adults, written by the English author Susan Cooper and published 1965 to 1977. The Dark is Rising, the second novel in the series, was published in 1973. The series is sometimes called the Dark is Rising Sequence, which is the title of its UK omnibus edition and its US box set edition. It depicts a struggle between forces of good and evil called the Light and the Dark and is based on Arthurian legends, Celtic mythology, and Norse mythology. Both magical and ordinary children are prominent throughout the series. It was inaugurated in 1965 with the UK publication of Oversea Under Stone by Jonathan Cape. The sequels were published 1973 to 1977, almost simultaneously in the UK and the US. Volume 4, The Grey King, won both the Newbery Medal, recognizing the year's most distinguished contribution to American literature for children, and the inaugural Welsh Tír na Renog Award for English-language books with Welsh background. The concluding Silver on the Tree also won the annual Tír na Renog Award. The novel The Dark is Rising features Will Stanton, age 11, who learns on that birthday that he is an Old One, and thus destined to wield the powers of the light in the ancient struggle with the dark. In the US it was a Newbery Honor book. Its 2007 film adaptation, titled The Seeker in America and The Dark is Rising in Britain, made significant plot and character divergences from the book. Characters: Simon, Jane, and Barney Drew. The main characters of the first novel, the Drew siblings, are human children who have known Merriman Leon as their great-uncle Merry for years. While on holiday in Cornwall, they get caught up in the battle between the light and the dark and join the search from the things of power. In the first novel, Oversea Under Stone, they search from the legendary Grail of King Arthur. They also appear in the third book, Greenwich, and the last book in the series, Silver on the Tree. In the poem featured prominently throughout The Dark is Rising, they are the ones referred to as three from the track. The last name is linked with Will Stanton's in British paleohistory. See Stanton Drew stone circles. Simon Drew. Simon is the eldest of the Drews. In Oversea Under Stone, Simon and Barney are the two to go into the cave and retrieve the Grail. In Greenwich, he is jealous of Will because Merriman brought him to Cornwall for unnecessary reasons, but eventually warms up to him. He loves sailing and anything to do with ships. Jane Drew. Jane is the middle Drew. In Greenwich, Jane is allowed to attend the Greenwich ceremony, which is traditionally for female locals only, and through her compassion develops a special bond with the entity which constitutes the magical aspect of the Greenwich. She subsequently receives from the entity the case containing the coded manuscript for deciphering the runes on the Grail. She also develops a special bond with the Lady of the Light in Silver on the Tree. Barnabas Drew. Barney is the youngest of the Drews. He loves King Arthur legends and, although he is quite wary of his talent at first, paints. In Greenwich, Barney's sketch is a picture of the bay, which is later stolen by an agent of the dark, but Merriman recovers it and presents it to Tethys as a gift. Old Ones. Ancient and immortal. The Old Ones are mystical beings who possess great magical power. They are found in all parts of the world and are of many races and cultures, capable of performing many seemingly impossible feats, including freezing time and controlling the elements. They serve the light in the war against the dark. The great lords of the dark have many similar characteristics and abilities but are not Old Ones. The two factions struggle to determine the destiny of mankind. While the light fights for freedom and free will, the dark fights for chaos, confusion and the subversion of man's agency. Will Stanton, the main character of the second novel and a major character in the entire series. He is the seventh son of a seventh son in a large, close human family. His 11th birthday marks the beginning of his magical awakening and rise to power as the last of the Old Ones. The Dark is Rising tells how he came to power, met Merriman Leon, and accumulated the 6 signs to help fight the Dark. Will is the last of the Old Ones. No others will be born after him. In Greenwich, he is invited to come to Cornwall by Merriman in order to help recover the Grail and cipher that reveals how to read the runes on the Grail. He later gives Jane a bracelet of gold engraved with the words, "Power from the Greenwich," which she throws into the sea as an offering to the Greenwich in appreciation for its help. In The Grey King, Will goes to Wales to recover from sickness, where he meets Bran and awakens the sleepers. In Silver on the Tree, Will travels with Bran to the Lost Land to recover the Crystal Sword areas, and helps to vanquish the Dark. Will is the only Old One to remain on Earth afterward, and the only one of the Light's allies who remembers the struggle against the Dark. In this, he is referred to as the Watchman, staying behind to keep watch for any attempt by the Dark to return. Cooper named Will for William Shakespeare. Merriman Leon. Merriman is the first Old One. He and Will Stanton have a special bond as each of them is one end of the long line of Old Ones. It is said that with the birth and coming to power of Will Stanton, the circle of Old Ones is complete. A friend of the Drew family for over a generation, he assisted Barney, Jane, and Simon in their quest for the Grail. In addition to protecting them until the task was completed, they occasionally refer to him as Great Uncle Merry or Gummery. Throughout the series, Merriman is portrayed in numerous historical periods, but particularly as King Arthur's chief advisor, the mythical Merlin, as Arthur calls him, Mer Lion, Old English for my lion, in Silver on the Tree. The lady is the most powerful of the Old Ones. Gentle, wise and enigmatic, she is a pivotal figure throughout the series, appearing usually at important moments to turn the tide in the Light's favor. She is an especial friend and mentor to Will and Jane. At one point in The Dark is Rising, Will Stanton makes a critical mistake during a battle with the Dark and is saved by the Lady. Merriman tells Will that the Lady on her own is the only Old One able to overcome the full power of the Dark, although at a great cost. The sacrifice by the Lady is a critical point in the story because she is a key element of the battle. At a later high ceremony of Old Ones, the Lady is missing and Merriman tells Will that her depleted power prevents her arrival, and she is beyond the magic to rescue but will return. She represents the Lady of the Lake, or the Lady of Avalon, King Arthur's sister, as they both embark on Arthur's boat Prydwen in Silver on the Tree. The Lady, like King Arthur, is affiliated with the light and the high magic. In Silver on the Tree, she initially can only communicate with Jane Drew, the one girl among the 6, telling Jane they share a special bond in being female and calls her Jane, Jana, Juno, referring to Jana or Juno, the Queen of the Gods. The Black Rider, one of the great lords of the Dark, comparable to Merriman in power and influence. The Rider is the major nemesis of Will during his many trials. He patronizes John Wayland Smith's establishment, where he meets Will for the first time and attempts to bring Will over to the Dark. He is given one name by the humans in the story, Mythothan. The White Rider, another servant and lord of the Dark, introduced in Silver on the Tree. The White Rider is almost equal in power to the Black Rider, and despite being feminine in her true form, often affects a masculine guise while attacking agents of the light. She is revealed as disguising herself as Blot when Roland's an aunt figure to Bran Davies. She acts kind and caring, to keep an eye on Bran while developing emotional bonds, while controlling events around Cader Idris, which means Chair of Arthur and the Sleepers. Will Stanton hypothesized that the monochromatic color of the White Rider's robes, like those of the Black Rider, reflected the extremism of their evil, either darkened by their ignorance or blinded by the brightness of their ideas. The Walker, a human who betrayed the light and was cursed to carry the sign of bronze, one of 6 things of power that repel the dark, through the centuries until the last Old One claimed it from him. The Walker was once Håkon, a liege man and foster son of Merriman during the 13th century. His betrayal of the light stemmed largely from Merriman's acceptance of Håkon's willingness to sacrifice his life to protect the Book of Grail, the secrets of which the human Håkon can neither possess nor partake of. In The Dark is Rising, his appearance in Will Stanton's town precipitates Will's awakening and rise to power. He presents Will with his second sign. The Sleepers, ancient knights who served during the time of King Arthur. In The Grey King they are awakened from a mystic slumber by the Harp of the Light, to ride against the dark during the final battle in Silver on the Tree. Pendragon. This is a reference to 2 characters. First, it is the figurative title referring to status as a leader of several traditional kings of the Britons, notably King Arthur. It is also his son in this series, Bran Davies, who is predestined to wield the crystal sword of light that is vital to the final conflict with the dark. Bran Davies is brought forward in time by Merriman at the request of his mother, Guinevere, who feared that Arthur would reject Bran as a true son because of Guinevere's affair with Lancelot. Bran is an albino, meaning he has very pale skin and white hair, eyebrows, and eyelashes, but his eyes are an unusual tawny color. Will meets him in Wales during The Grey King, where they wake the Sleepers using the harp. In Silver on the Tree, Bran and Will travel to the Lost Land and recover the sword areas. The Rooks. The majority of these birds are servants of the dark and attract the forces wherever they are seen. Farmer Dawson, an Old One who lives near Will Stanton and presents him with his first sign. John Wayland Smith, another Old One who lives near Will Stanton. He is also a skilled smith. Though he is affiliated with the light, he aids all who pass in his smithy. It is suggested that he might be the legendary Saxon smith, Wayland, the Saxon equivalent of the legendary elf smith Voland. Artifacts. Things of power. The Old Ones have 4 things of power that will be used in the final battle, which will allow them to defeat the dark: the Circle of Signs, the Grail, the Harp, and the Sword. They are obtained in The Dark is Rising, Over Sea, Under Stone, The Grey King, and Silver on the Tree, respectively. Greenwich is the story of the recovery of the stolen Grail. The signs, a set of 6 circles quartered by crosses. The 6 signs are each made of a different material and represent a different element: wood, bronze, iron, water, fire, and stone. The 6 signs represent the 6 champions of the light, referred to in the recurring poem of The Dark is Rising series, as 3 from the circle, 3 from the track. When used, the signs have the power to repel the dark. The Grail, presumably the source of the King Arthur Holy Grail legend. It is an artifact of power used by the light. There are markings on it in a writing similar to Otham, which is long lost. It is eventually translated by the Old Ones, thanks to a coded manuscript inside a metal case held by the Greenwich. The harp, a golden harp that is obtained by Will Stanton and Bran Davies from a triumvirate of the high magic by answering 3 riddles. The light uses it in The Grey King in order to wake the Sleepers in preparation for the final battle. Whoever plays the harp creates powerful music that negates any magic, through the protection of the high magic. The Crystal Sword, a magical sword, commissioned by the Light, crafted in the magical Lost Lands by the Lost King. It is named Ares, therefore blazing, also called Sword of the Sunrise. In the presence of the dark, it burns with blue fire. It can cut portals through magical barriers, as seen in silver on the tree, and is encased in a magical scabbard of invisibility. It is used by Bran Davies, the Pendragon, heir of King Arthur, to cut the one fully blossomed silver flower on the midsummer's tree, which is caught by merrymen. The Book of Grammary, the ancient book of the Old Ones. It is an Old One's rite of passage, while also teaching everything about the powers, and through it, they experience the magical spells. Grammary, or grimoire, from the Old French word grammaire and the Old English word grammar, initially referred to all books, most written in Latin, which almost no one could read, and perceived by the masses as magical. The Book of Grammary is protected by an enchanted device of a pendulum in a long case clock that, if touched, will detonate and destroy any human that attempts to gain access to the book. This powerful book is further protected in that it is written in the old speech, which only an old one can read and understand. It is blasted out of existence by merrymen after Will has read it. The doors, a set of carved oak doors that lead through time. Old Ones can summon these doors to appear at will to transport themselves through time and space. The doors disappear when the Old Ones pass through them, accompanied by the haunting bell chime music of the light. Their origin is not explained in the books. Midsummer's Tree. In Chiltern, England, the tree produces a silver flower, which blooms once every 700 years, and is the final challenge for the Six of the Light. The person who obtains the silver flower gains control of the high magic to put out of time the dark or the light forever. Bran Davies, the Pendragon and heir of King Arthur, wields the crystal sword to cut the fully blossomed silver flower on the midsummer's tree, which is caught by merrymen, making the light victorious. The magics. Old magic, a powerful elemental magic, of which the light and the dark are the two opposite extremes. Wild magic, the magic of nature, first used in the dark, is rising to provide strength to the forces of the light in the book's final battle. In Greenwich, we learn that the wild magic is equal in strength to both the dark and the light, but that it stands apart and is unaffected by either. High magic, the most powerful magic being of the cosmos. A spell of this type is used by the Old Ones in Greenwich to be able to communicate with Tethys, the Queen of the Sea, and plead for her help in obtaining the scroll that will help translate the writing on the Grail. In The Grey King, Will Stanton and Bran Davies obtain the Harp of Gold from a place guarded by the high magic after being tested by a Lord of the Dark, a Lord of the Light, and a Lord of the High Magic. Miscellaneous. Old speech. This is the spoken form of the ancient language of the Old Ones. When an Old One comes to power, this language is used instinctively by the Old One when speaking to members of the Light of the Dark. Will Stanton begins to do this without even realizing it. When an Old One speaks the old speech in front of a normal human, it will sound like gibberish. Some agents of the dark, such as the Rider, can also speak Old speech, but with a distinctive accent which gives them away to the Old Ones. Rhymes. Small rhyming prophecies serve to guide the protagonists throughout the series. Science fiction author and filker Julia Eckler has set these rhyming prophecies to music, and the resulting song, also called The Dark is Rising, won the 1997 Pegasus Award for Best Sorcery Song. Works in the series. Oversee Understone. The characters in this book, which was published several years before the others, are younger than those in the rest of the series, and the issues are presented as less cosmic. Overall, the book is aimed at younger readers more than the other 4 books in the series. In this tale, Susan Cooper introduces the audience to Merriman, a pivotal character for the forces of the light, and also ties him with Simon, Jane and Barney Drew, 3 young mortal children, in a quest by the sea which will lead them oversea in Understone to find a Grail of legend to help the light in its struggle against the dark. The dark is rising. Quotation, "You are the 7th son of a 7th son, Will Stanton. You step through time. One by one, the signs will call to you. You will gather them and gain the power of the light. You are the sign seeker." Quote. In this second book, Will Stanton begins to have strange experiences on his 11th birthday, just before Christmas. He soon learns he is one of the Old Ones, a guardian and warrior for the light. He learns that he must help find the 4 things of power for the light in order to battle the forces of the dark. The first of these things of power is the Circle of 6 Signs. This book is a key book for the main character, Will Stanton. It is in this book that he collects the 6 signs which become the Circle of Signs, one of the things of power, by finding the additional 5 mandalas, and uses the completed circle to ward off the forces of the dark. The book features elements of English folklore that are especially associated with the Thames Valley, with Herne the Hunter making an appearance. The Dark is Rising was won American Library Association Newbery Honor Book in 1974. Based on a 2007 online poll, the U.S. National Education Association named it one of Teacher's top 100 books for children. In 2012 it was ranked number 22 among all-time children's novels in a survey published by School Library Journal, a monthly with primarily U.S. audience. Greenwich. This story returns to the characters introduced in Oversea Understone, uniting them with Will Stanton, and involves a quest for magic from beneath the sea. Jane Drew witnesses the creation of a ritualistic offering known as the Greenwich, and senses both great power and great sadness in it. She wishes that the Greenwich could be happy, and that wish has important consequences later when it turns out that the Greenwich possesses something that will unlock the secrets of the Grail. Karen Patricia Smith has written, Greenwich, the 3rd book in the series, is quite different in mood from the earlier books. In this dreamlike novel set in Cornwall, magic often occurs during the hours of darkness, and yet readers are not left with the feeling that experiences have been merely imagined. The Greenwich, the figure created by village women, comes into possession of a great secret coveted by the powers of light and dark. Young Jane's innocence moves the creature to release the secret. Jane is an interesting figure because at first she appears to be a rather flat character who reacts according to convention. Yet as the story progresses, we learn that even those who are skilled and knowledgeable in fighting the powers of the dark are powerless in this instance. Ironically, it is Jane who is successful, not through dramatic means, but rather through communicating her compassion for the Greenwich. The Grey King in this book, Will, is sent to Wales to recuperate after an illness. Here he meets Bran, the Pendragon son of King Arthur, and befriends him. He must also awaken the sleepers to fight the dark. The Grey King was awarded the 1976 Newbery Medal. Welsh folklore figures strongly in the book. Silver on the Tree. All of the main characters from the other books in the sequence come together in this book, some meeting for the first time, and the current struggle between the light and the dark is resolved. After the light wins the battle, Bran is offered a chance to rejoin his father, but chooses to give up his immortality to stay with his friends and his mortal adoptive father. All immortal characters except Will Stanton leave the Earth forever. All the mortal characters lose all memory of any dealings with magic and the Old Ones, though the Durs and Bran have snatches of something come back to them in dreams. One reviewer for the junior bookshelf offered a mixed review. One of the difficulties lies in accepting that apparently very ordinary children have a special destiny. This is the major obstacle to the acceptance of Narnia. For at least of the 6 who have the duty of holding back the dark do not seem up to the task. Time switches too, although handled skillfully enough, are not always easy to swallow. Where Miss Cooper excels is in the management of setting. The writer captures the smell of the countryside. Miss Cooper shows how fine her observation is and her ability to convey its tingling reality. Perhaps, now that the dark has been put finally to flight, she will pursue this aspect of her art. Fantasy scholar Carol Scott remarks how, in one chapter of this novel, the power of evil is presented in modern dress through a bigoted Englishman's outburst of racial prejudice directed against an immigrant of color. Locations. Nearly all the locations mentioned in the books are based on real places. Oversea, Understone and Greenwich are set in Truassic, which is based on a village in southern Cornwall called Mevagissey. Susan Cooper used to visit Mevagissey as a child. The Dark is Rising is set in the part of Buckinghamshire where Cooper grew up. Huntercombe is based on the small village of Dorney, and the Great Hall is Dorney Court. The Welsh setting in The Grey King and Silver on the Tree is the area around Aberdyfi, the village where Cooper's grandmother was born and where her parents lived.